Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. I want to ask about what's happening between Qatar and its neighbors. Last week, Saudi Arabia severed all diplomatic and economic ties with Qatar, and almost immediately, Bahrain, the UAE, Egypt, and Yemen did the same. This crisis began in part because it was reported that the leader of Qatar gave a speech praising Iran and criticizing other countries in the region. Now it appears that that was fake news and that the leader of Qatar gave no such speech. Now, the media has reported that the FBI believes that it was actually the Russians who planted the story. I don't want to ask a question that depends on classified information. So let me ask this question instead. If the news reports are accurate, what motive would the Russians have had for doing something like that? Mr. Secretary, might you be able to answer that?
I think a disruption of the international order is something that Russia, in a short-sighted way, thinks works to their benefit. I think it does not, but I can't speak for them. I think what you're seeing here, though, is the continued prevalence of threats, not just to our own country, not just to Western Europe democracies, but they're trying to break any kind of multilateral alliance, I think, that is a stabilizing influence in the world.
So, good. And I hope, good in terms of your description. This is very helpful, and I hope we're going to be able to get to the bottom of this. You know, our intelligence agencies have told us that the Russians conducted a successful cyber attack against our 2016 elections. A few months later, the Russians tried to do the same thing in France, and now it appears they're trying to take this to a whole new level. So I'd also, though, like to ask for your help to clarify the U.S. policy on this current dispute. After the Saudis cut off diplomatic and economic ties, the president immediately tweeted his support for the move, saying, and I'm going to quote here, "So good to see the Saudi Arabia visit with the king and 50 countries already paying off." But soon afterwards, Secretary of State Tillerson called on those countries to ease the Qatar blockade, saying it was, quote, hindering U.S. military operations in the region and the campaign against ISIS. Then, in testimony to this committee, the Air Force Secretary contradicted Secretary Tillerson and said that the dispute was, in fact, not impacting air operations at Al Udeid, our base in Qatar. Secretary Mattis, can you please clarify what is the policy of the United States government toward the current dispute among Gulf countries in the Middle East?
Yes, ma'am. Senator, the Secretary of the Air Force was referring to the operations at that one air base.
Okay.
There is more than that going on in the region, so she was quite correct in what she was saying about that. Secretary Tillerson was nonetheless correct as he looked more broadly at the situation where we have to work with many of those what we call Gulf Cooperation Council states together. We have friends in the region, Senator, who have problems. They admit it. One of the issues that came up when President Trump visited Saudi Arabia was their effort to turn off the spread of rabid ideologies that undercut stability and create the kind of the ocean in which the terrorists swim, that sort of thing. So we have friends out there. We've got to work with them. Our policy is to try to reduce this problem, but at the same time, we have got to make certain that we're all working together and there is no funding, whether it be from a state or from individuals in the state who can get away with it because there's a lack of oversight or law or that sort of thing. So there's a lot of passions at play here. It's not tidy as we deal with it.
And I understand that Qatar needs to do more to fight terrorism in the field. And I just want to make sure I clarified the point and understood it correctly. General Dunford, is the Qatar blockade affecting U.S. military operations?
Senator, it is not, and we're watching that very, very closely, but we've had good cooperation from all the parties to make sure that we can continue to move freely in and out of Qatar, where we have both an important air base as well as the headquarters forward of the United States Central Command.
Good. Thank you very much. I just want to say this cyber threat appears to be getting bigger and bigger, more and more dangerous, taking on multiple permutations. I think that means it's really important, and I'm going to ask you later for an update on the status of trying to implement the our cyber command elevation. But this is something we've got to fight back against.
We're on track with elevation.
Good.
It's going fine. I don't see any issues there. There's some other things about splitting them that we're working through, but we'll work through it.
Good. Powerfully important. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.